Rex Heuermann wants his guns returned to his family. The lawyer for the Gilgo Beach murder suspect says Heuermann's wife and 2 kids are out of money, and the guns could be sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Investigators seized more than 280 firearms from Heuermann's house after his July arrest. The collection reportedly includes vintage guns from both the Civil War and World War I, and at least 20 assault rifles. Now, there's no indication that any of the guns were used during Heuermann's alleged crimes. His wife, Asa Ellerup, says the guns were legally purchased and are marital property. There is one possible stumbling block, though. Heuermann had permits for only 92 of the guns. That's actually less than a third of his arsenal, which means the rest may have violated gun laws. Now, no word on when the judge will rule. A pretrial conference is scheduled for Wednesday, and a motion hearing is scheduled for October 2nd. I'm joined now by Robert Macedonio, the attorney for Rex Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup, and Vess Mitev, the lawyer for Heuermann's 2 adult children. I appreciate you both being with us. Robert, I want to start with you. Obviously, we know what Heuermann's accused of. He's accused of being a serial killer. Wife and kids have not been accused of anything. Important to say that. I always try to remind people of that because they've taken a lot of heat, a lot of it unfair, obviously. Is selling the guns really the only way for them to have any money, to make money at this point?
Rex was the sole financial supporter of the family. Asa was not employed, and Victoria worked for her father, so that was the sole source of income, which that business has basically been shut down at this point in time. So there is no other income coming into the household this time.
Do we have any idea, Robert, at what all those guns would be worth?
It's my estimation, after looking at the inventory of the guns and speaking to people, that they're worth anywhere between $200,000 to $300,000.
Okay, so it's a significant, sort of life-changing amount of money.
It's a significant amount of money. There was discussions that Asa had with Rex, over the course of the history, that those guns were valuable, that there was a period of time they may or may not want to use them to pay for Victoria's college during COVID, when the industry pretty much shut down everybody's income. So there is a substantial value to them, and she deserves to have them turned over and appraised and sold, and that money divided up according to the divorce.
So, Vess, there's no indication that the guns are connected to the killings that Heuermann is accused of. I'm just trying to think of what the police might be thinking here in terms of not releasing them. Do you think they're concerned that, at some point it could be possible that they need them in evidence? What's the reasoning that you understand for not just releasing them?
Well, we have no reason, and that's part and parcel of why we are, as previously advertised, we're going to be filing a notice of claim actually this week against law enforcement, against the county, against the law enforcement agencies that were running roughshod, across the property, into the house, tearing up the floorboards, tearing up the rafters, seizing items that had in no way, shape, or form anything to do with any investigation, personal heirlooms, antiques, so on and so forth. So to our minds, we have no idea. Even some of these antique muskets or pistols or things that have absolutely no evidentiary probative value, we have no idea why they're not yet being returned. But that's, again, why we are going to file that notice of claim this week.
What about this issue, Robert, that only 92 of the guns had permits, 188 apparently being held illegally? Could that become an issue?
That's incorrect. The ones that were on the pistol license are the ones that are required to be registered and put on a pistol license. Long guns, rifles, shotguns are not required to be put on a pistol license. And I want to make one other thing clear. We are not asking that these guns be returned to the house in Massapequa Park. Make that clear. We are suggesting that they be turned over to a federally licensed firearm dealer, appraised and stored there until they are auctioned off and or sold. So I want to be clear. The neighbors don't have to worry. Weapons are not going to be returned to this household. There doesn't be pandemonium in the neighborhood. Asa is not seeking the return of the physical firearms, but they should be turned over to a federally licensed firearm dealer, appraised, and that value, whatever they may be auctioned off for, those monies being held and divided up according to the divorce agreement. That's it. I understand the optics of returning firearms to the home of an alleged serial killer. Right. Nobody's looking to put law enforcement in that position. Asa is certainly not looking to put in a position, nor the children. So I don't want the pandemonium to break out in the news or the media to go neighborhood, knocking on door to door, alerting the neighbors. That's not going to happen. No one's suggesting that happen.
Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense. It's really just about the money and needing the money. Robert, can you tell us how Asa and the kids are doing? You know, I haven't heard much lately. I mean, is she still in the house? And has she reached out to Heuermann at all? Like, what's sort of the latest on that front?
They are still living in the house, and she cannot reach out to Rex. He has to be an outgoing call from the jail. They have not visited him in person. And frankly, there's nowhere else for them to go right now. That was their family house for the last 20-something years. So until, arrangements can be made for her to go reside somewhere else, that's the only place they have to live.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.